everyone. Welcome to the third video in this module on how to prepare yourself for success in English. Today we're going to look at how to create a system for success in English. And I've chosen this quote for today's video, which is from James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits. And he says, if you want better results, then forget about setting goals. Focus on your system instead. Now, you may find this strange because normally people tell us we have to set goals to reach our potential. So in the case of learning English, maybe people tell you to set short-term, mid-term and long-term goals to be a confident English speaker. Goals are important, but in order to reach those goals, we need a system in place. And that's what we're going to look at today. So the objective of this module is learn how to create this system you need to be consistent and successful in English. So let's have a look at why it's better to set a system and focus on the system rather than focusing on our end goal. So imagine the situation. We have two people who are professionals, and in their jobs they need to use English, especially in business meetings. Both professionals have exactly the same goal. It is to speak English confidently in a business meeting. That's the goal that they've put themselves or that their bosses have told them that they have to achieve in order to be successful in their jobs. So the day of the meeting arrives, same goal, same motivation, but the lady on the right has a confident and a fluent and successful business meeting, and she's very happy at the end of it. The guy on the left is nervous and he's embarrassed and he has mental blocks during the meeting. He can't remember any of his vocabulary and he basically has a horrible time of it. So why, if they both have the same goal, the same motivation, did the ladies' meeting go so well and the guys' meeting go so badly? Let's look into this in more detail. So if we think about it, the goal is the desired outcome. It's a desire. But how do we get to that goal? We get to that goal by having a system in place. And the system is a collection of daily habits that will get you to that goal. So let's take a look at this diagram and hopefully it'll make it a bit clearer for you why the system is more important than the goal. Okay, so this guy has his goal of speaking professional English confidently in a business meeting. He's really motivated. He knows that's what he needs to do, but he doesn't have a system in place. Having no system leads to no consistency in his English training. No consistency means slower progress, which leads to frustration with English. I think we all know how that feels. And being frustrated means he loses his motivation. And this is a vicious circle, which means that he's really unlikely to reach this goal. However, the lady who had a fantastic meeting in English and she was really happy at the end of it with how it went, she has the same goal of speaking confidently in English in a business meeting. She's super motivated, the same as the guy, but she has created a stable system to reach this goal. And having that stable system of habits in place in her day-to-day life leads to consistency in English training. And that means faster progress, which means more satisfaction, and then even an increase in her motivation to reach that goal. But if she's that motivated, she's not going to stop at that goal. She's going to try and reach even more goals in English. And it's going to be so automatic and so natural that she's not even going to be thinking about it anymore. So if we limit ourselves to a goal, we also run the risk of once we meet that goal, just stopping there. It's like people who train to run a marathon. Okay, they suffer and suffer during months. They finally get to the marathon, they run the marathon, and then they stop because that was their goal. And then they lose all of the fitness that they gained over the last few months and they stop running and they stop training. If your goal's not the marathon, if the goal is getting in shape and getting fit, you're going to keep training, you're going to keep running. And then that way, okay, you can do the marathon, but you can also run other races or do other sports at the same time. So the point is, if we focus on a goal, we're limiting ourselves to how far we can go. If we focus on the system, we're going to reach that goal anyway, but we could reach even more goals than that. So this is the way we want to start thinking about. Don't worry so much about the end goal. Think about the system to get you there and and use that system to reach your full potential in English. So how can we create one of these systems? Well, this is coming from the things we looked at in the previous video, okay, on managing our time to be successful in English. Okay, so the idea is to start small, thinking of manageable tasks which are easy to incorporate into our daily lives. So they're the tasks that you wrote in the list as part of the activities in the last video. So these manageable tasks that we can do with 10 to 20 minutes a day, several times a day, and that cover various English skills at the same time. Those tasks should also be enjoyable and useful. So the second point is to enjoy the process. If we enjoy the process, we're more likely to keep going, stay consistent with the system, and eventually reach those goals that we're setting ourselves. So the activities in the list that you created in the last video hopefully will also be useful and enjoyable for you. So now that we have the activities, we need to make them accessible, make them habits which are easy for us to fit into our day and like be automatic for us to do. So one tip is to stack those habits, the new English habits, with other habits you already have in your day-to-day lives. And that'll make English exposure a natural part of your life. So for example, this is going to make you laugh, but one thing I used to do when I was learning Spanish was to stick verbs. I stuck a list of verbs on the back of my toilet door, and every time I went to the toilet, which is an automatic habit all of us do several times a day, I would sit there, look at my list of verbs and conjugate verbs whilst I was on the toilet. So that's one way of stacking a habit of learning a language into a normal part of a normal habit that you already have. Another example could be every time you have a coffee in the morning, use that moment to watch a video, or that coffee is going to be something that you associate with reading something in English, reading a newspaper in English. So coffee will make you think about doing some reading in English. So it becomes natural and automatic, these kind of habits. Another thing to do to make sure those habits stick is to make them rewarding. So try to think of how to reward yourself when you complete a habit or a task. A reward could be a reward of time, or also a reward, a physical reward, a gift you want to give yourself if you do a whole week with a successful system, or something like that. But try to think of a way of rewarding yourself when you complete a task. So this is the book that I mentioned. I highly recommend reading it because it really changed my perspective on how to rethink the way of setting goals and establish new habits into my life, which meant I was going to achieve those goals and more. So you can apply what James Clear says in this book to learning a language, but you can also apply it to other parts of your life. Okay, so I really recommend reading this book. It's available in English, so if you read it in English, that would count as one of your activities in your system. 10 or 15 minutes reading this book every day, for example, but you can also buy it translated into Spanish. So here are the activities to do for this module. The first activity is to create your own personal system for success in English. So this is something which you're going to be adapting, and it's going to evolve over time. But we're going to start getting to the habit of creating this system, analysing it, make sure we see if it's working or not. And I've created an Excel document which hopefully will make this easier for you to do. So first thing is to fill in the personal system for success in English sheet with the activities that you created in the list in the previous video. Inside the Excel document, you'll also see a habit tracker. So the habit tracker is to check off or to tick when you actually do one of your activities, okay? So you can measure if you're actually following your system or not, and then you use that tracker to evaluate if the system is effective or if you need to make some changes. So that's the activities for today's module. I really hope you find this useful, and good luck setting up your own system for success in English, and I'll see you in the next video.